Alright, welcome back to How to Make Hero Concepts. Today we're going to be talking about tank races or buffer races. As we said before, the role of buffer is just a stand-in simile for synonym, not simile, synonym for tank. So the role of buffer is just tanks. And today we're going to be talking about Brutus, our role buffer, tank, playstyle shielder, so a shield tank, and description is a rock giant. So we're going to be talking about how different races could be both tanks, because I mean a giant itself is huge, and a rock giant can throw rocks. Similarly, as you can see, their primary is bowling boulder, meaning that he bowls a boulder in a direction, and he has 6 of these before he has to make new ones or just reload. Just a reloading mechanic. He makes new ones because his whole body is made out of silverish blue rocks, as you can see by the art below. So yeah, a rock giant is a perfect tank role because not only can you access the thing that it's a rock giant, meaning that it's large, meaning it fits the tank role. The rock part of it, it can throw rocks, it can use rocks, it can cause avalanches, as you can see by its ultimate, flood an area with pebbles, rocks, boulders, and large boulders, avalanche. There's other similar things, such as the Goliath role, the Goliath race, which is just large stone people. There's golems. Golems can be made out of any material, but golems, giants, Goliaths, barbarians are another tanking role. They're mostly attack, but you can make them tanking with armor or by making their size bigger. There's also blobs. Blobs have a lot of health. Slimes in general can have either a little health or a lot of health depending on their surface area. It really just depends what races you want. Dragons are a big buffer role, are a very popular buffer role because they've got a lot of health because they're usually large to humongous, so they can be used as a tank, but also as a mobility tank because they have wings, so they can technically fly if you want them to fly. If you want them to. Next thing is robots. So Astros can be used as tanks. You can have big destroyer tanks. Dinosaurs, another good one. Any big creature like an ox, bear, lion, rhino, elephant, whale. Doesn't have to be just in the water. It can be a shark man. We talked about how there's human hybrids in this world. You can make a man that's crossed between a shark and a man, a whale and a man, and rhino and a man, a lion man, a sphinx. You can have a sphinx, a manticore. A manticore is a mythical beast as well, split between a lion and I don't remember what it's split with, but it's just a flying lion basically. A flying lion that can breathe fire is what a manticore is, and manticore is another buffer tank race. So yeah, that's just a few races you can use for tanks. I'll throw out a few suggestions. Remember, golems can be made out of anything, so you can have an iron golem, cobalt golem, copper golem, lava golem, flesh golem if you want it to be like a necro thing, or like just a mound of flesh. Kind of disgusting, but you can make it work in your game if you know how to make it not look absolutely disgusting in its renders and assets. So let's move on to Brutus, our resident rock giant and shield tank. We already talked about the primary and ultimate. Primary, it bowls a boulder, it throws 6 boulders before it has to make some more. Ultimate, as we said, is avalanche. It floods an area with pebbles, rocks, boulders, and large boulders, like an avalanche would. Passive, split your rocks up and recall them. So you can split into multiple rock pieces, and then you can recall them back into your main. This helps you be immune for a little bit of time. Of course, people will still be able to damage your rocks when they're split up, but maybe it'll make it harder for them to kill you because your rocks are all split up, so they gotta aim for smaller targets instead of just one large targets. And you can recall, so you can split up, and then recall back up all your rocks into one form. Stun stone, throw a rock that stuns when hits. So it hits an ally and stuns them, so they can't move for like a second or half a second. Breaking stone, throw a rock that splits into 3 smaller parts. Just throw a rock. If it hits an ally, not an ally, hits an enemy, it splits into 3 smaller stones that can hit other enemies nearby that first enemy. Gravel wave, throw a wave of gravel in a direction, just throwing a bunch of small pebbles in a wave. And then stone shield, a large projectile shield. A large projectile shield that you put in front of you. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, first what we're going to do is we're going to fix some of these cooldowns, mainly just this one here. If it's a large projectile shield, I know for a fact how much health it has. It has more than 1000 health, so it needs to have a cooldown of 15 seconds in order to be balanced. So let's look at our vertical stat block. First, we're going to go here. Brutus is the name. Its description is a rock giant, and it is a shield tank, so it's placed out as shielder. We talked about bowling boulder, bowls a boulder, and of course, if you bowl a boulder, technically it's a projectile, but it's also a limited area because it's a giant stone that's rolling in a direction. So it's rolling in a directional aerial strike. So it's rolling in a radial direction, meaning that it's a limited area attack. Passive is split up, and then recall. Of course, we're going to put it as an ability because it's just I would say it's kind of like a diversion ability or some sort of self-saving ability because you put yourself into multiple parts, so it's harder for enemies to fully kill you and damage you. So it's still an ability, it doesn't do any damage, but it just helps you. Next one is Breaking Stone and then Gravel Wave. So Breaking Stone, remember that stone that if you throw it against an an enemy, not an ally, it would break apart into 3 smaller parts and hit local enemies. Stone Shield was the large stone shield that you used to shield yourself and other allies. Gravel Wave, we talked about it, small pebbles. This is going to be I think it's a spread attack. Yes, it's a spread attack. So that's a spread attack because you're launching a spread of pebbles. And then finally, Stun Stone, which is going to be a melee attack because it's a smaller stone, not a big stone. You're not rolling in a direction, you're literally just hitting someone with a rock, which is a melee attack. And it stuns them a little bit. And finally, your main ultimate Avalanche is a limited area because it says flood an area with pebbles, small stones, boulders, and large boulders. Alright. Now let's wrap up with our story. We actually have a big piece of story to wrap up with before the end of the video. He's a member of InterNATO. We talked about it before with Bob Wire. Basically an international defense force. Basically the United Nations Defense Force. Being sent by his people to represent their push to be recognized as equals during the Magic Revolution. The Third Astro Rebellion. We mentioned with our first Astro character there were many different rebellions. This Magic Revolution happened during the Third Astro Rebellion, so at least we know there's at least 3 now. Attempt, which saw the release of millions of magical users and creatures frozen in time by the darkened crystal. So there was magic, they're stuck in a crystal, so there was no magic in the world, but now, during this Astro Rebellion, there was a magic revolution because someone must have broke the dark crystal, meaning there's now magic in the world. So instead of there just being humans versus robots war, now there is humans, magical creatures and creatures and users, and robots living in a cybernetic future. Basically the best of 3 worlds. He fights alongside his fellows as their giant protector, using his rocks throwing skills and large granite shield to cover critical allies from attacks. So there we go. His story basically outlines what he is, what his purpose is, what his job is, and it gives us a little bit of history about the world, showing how magic came back to a cybernetic future, and shows why the world was not magic, but now is. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you like, dislike if you don't, subscribe if you like it, and I'll see you guys next time. Toodaloo!